What's up, everybody? We are back for another episode, albeit a later than usual episode of Fireflies Forever. And we're glad to be here with you this evening. I apologize for getting started a little bit late. I had a little bit longer commute time, we'll say, for now. But we are here, and let me bring these gentlemen on the screen. We've got Joe. What's up, Joe? How you doing this week?
What's going on, man? Well, I have to say RIP to my microwave that I've had for 27 years. Finally died today. We bought literally an over-the-counter microwave that we've had, sitting in our kitchen since we had this house, and it finally died. So I played one out for the microwave earlier this morning. But other than that, I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. You don't know what when you have these things you can't take advantage of and forget about. And then when you don't have it, you realize all the damn things that you can't cook in now because you don't have it anymore. But yeah, other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
Good, man. Good. And Chris, how you doing this week, man?
Doing good. I scored my Royal Rumble tickets, so I'm super excited for that. Can't wait for February.
There you go, man. Yeah, that's exciting. That's exciting. And back to Joe's point, the microwaves that they make these days have a shelf life of about a year or two, maybe 3 to 4 if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
So,
27 years is pretty good.
That's pretty good. George Bernard Shaw says, "Rip Joe's microwave. The years of service won't be forgotten."
That thing was used and used hard, man. When I got in there and looked at it today, I was looking at the filters that go underneath it, which I kind of even forgot about. Oh my God. There's a whole bunch of grease and all that kind of stuff. Like, wow, this thing has been used pretty well. So
yeah, man. All right. So we're going to get into it. First off, I want to welcome everyone that's in the chat. Thank you all for joining us. I'm going to say this now because I will forget otherwise. Please drop a like on the video. We'd greatly appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. We're glad you're here. Consider hitting that subscribe button over here on YouTube so you can be a part of the family. So speaking of family, every week we start our episodes off with memories, and I'm going to turn it over to Chris so he can share with us the memories that he's given this week.
Yeah. So 7 years ago this week was when me and Jodie got engaged. So I didn't think I'd ever shared the story of that with you guys. So I figured I would share that today and tell you and show you a couple pictures. So it was Thanksgiving of 2017. We went down to Charlotte to see her parents, go there for Thanksgiving, and we went out on Black Friday. She thought we were just going out for a normal date or whatever. We went to a couple breweries, did some stuff like that, got something to eat, and I was like, "There's this park near here that looks pretty cool. Why don't we go take a walk or whatever?" And went, and I didn't even really know where I was going to go. I was like, "I'm just look and find a good place in this park." I like that that would be a pretty setting. And I saw this old stone bridge over this creek. I was like, "Okay, that looks good." So went there, and I waited till there was no one around, and she had kind of turned away for a second. I just kind of looked around. She turns around, and there I am down on one knee with an open ring box, and she was totally caught off guard, had no idea that was happening. And so the first picture there was from that was when it happened in 2017. That was right after she said yes. And then these other pictures, we actually revisited that place 2 years later at the same time in 2019. We were down there for Thanksgiving again, and took these pictures there. Went back to that same bridge and kind of relived that memory.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you? I was gonna ask if you were able to get her to wear a Packers sweatshirt as well, but I see that it's not a Packers sweatshirt.
I actually do have pictures of her in that same Packers sweatshirt of mine.
That's awesome.
So
That's
awesome. But it wasn't necessarily because it was Packers. It was just because she would steal all my sweatshirts and stuff. So
that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Well, yeah, thank again, man. I know I say this often, but thank you so much for sharing all these memories with us and
Yeah.
these backstories and everything.
Makes me think of the time that I got engaged. Holy crap. That was like 28 years ago or so. It was in a mall of all places because malls were so big back then. And I remember just taking her it was a mall date. And we went through this mall. It's up here. It's called a place called Steamtown, which is outside of Scranton. And they have a mall there, and it's over like railroads and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. And remember going through, and she ended up buying me like a Robert Frost poems book because I used to like reading like poetry and stuff like that years ago. And then I remember we went into the food court, we were eating something, and I'm like, all right, I carried this thing with me, and I don't know when the appropriate time is to do this. So we're just sitting there. She goes for something, comes back, and I'm holding the ring out and everything like that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, we're going to go to something else that was a favorite of Jodie's, and that's artwork. And I got to do this on the fly because I'm going to tell you, Nicole, Nicole's in our chat too. She sent over some artwork. I was not able to add it into the slides, but I do have it here. So I'm going to make that large. And this is from Nicole, who's in our chat right now.
That is really cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool. Nicole's another one that needs to maybe start thinking about doing comic books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The flowers look really realistic, very realistic.
I love the color pop, too. Like,
yeah.
Everything's kind of dark, but you've got these bright purple flowers and all in the purple sky.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really, really cool. Yeah, very cool. Wow.
This is well done, too.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, very awesome. You're not the first to say that. Yeah, hey, you can. I'm telling you, there are a lot of comic book opportunities out there now. Like it's not like it used to be, where there was Marvel and DC. There are so many out there now, and so many of them are looking for. In fact, a lot of them advertise looking for independent artists and stuff like that. So keep your eyes open and look through like Image Comics, Dark Horse Comics, like a lot of the smaller ones now that don't have like that titles that are licensed to them, they can now afford to go and do and like hire their own artists and just do new things. So yeah, you should really look into that. That's amazing though. The pencil is just awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Tremendous. And then here's the last one from Nicole.
Look at the smile on Nikki, man. That's evil.
Oh yeah.
That's nightmare fuel right there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, her and Bo are just kind of looking at each other laughing.
Yeah. All right, and then here's one that Chris sent over, a tattoo. That's pretty darn.
What really got me on this one is I love the little lantern on the finger. Lantern on the finger. Cool. That's really cool. Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, it definitely is. Man, I God bless. That has got to hurt. Yeah. You were right on the bones of the hand doing that. Oh man, yeah, that's got to hurt, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that has to hurt. Let's talk about something else that's probably gonna hurt though. And what that'll segue us into our theories and discussion. I think The Miz, for whatever reason, may have had a concussion at some point because there's no other logical explanation for him to be gloating and doing all the things that he's doing. So let's start here. Chris, what did you think of what we got last night? We'll start with The Miz and Karrion Kross. What did you think of this this video and just how both of them were carrying themselves, we'll say?
I thought it was a good promo. I mean, a little short-sighted, I think, like gloating about wanting an Academy Award for that performance. I really don't understand. Is he really that clueless as to what's coming? Does he think that they beat him down and that's going to be the end of this? Like, what are you thinking, Miz?
Yeah, I don't get it, Joe. What do you think, man?
It seems to me like, well, first of all, just not smart. But it seems to me like I don't know that they're that upset with Cross as yet. Anyway, they just seem like they're pissed at Miz. A lot of that stuff, I think, is really directed at him. The stuff from Howdy's promo last night, I mean, it could have been directed at both of them, which it may have been. But if I were the Miz, man, I'd be hopping out of town. I'd be on it. I'd be taking a ticket and taking a trip to Mexico or out of the country for a little bit, because I don't know. I don't know what his thinking is. Like I said, he must have short-term memory, because it wasn't long ago that Bray was invading his home and putting the toys in the kid's crib and all that kind of stuff. So, if Howdy goes a little darker, I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. I mean, Maurice better be careful, because she might be the next one that gets taken out of there. I don't know. It's like one of those things, when you've got that, when there's a kid bullying someone or something, and the kid says, "I know where you live." Well, Howdy knows where you live, Miss. So I don't know that I'd be too confident in my comments. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was a good promo, though. I agree with Chris. It was a good promo. I like it, and that's why I like this so far. I mean, Karrion, and we'll talk a little bit later about it, obviously, but Karrion is amazing in promos. Really, really is. Just does an amazing job. Did a impromptu one that we'll mention that I shared on Insiders. I didn't know about it until I heard about it from someone else. I think it might have been. Was it on one of C's videos? It could have been, but I didn't know about it at all. And then I think I heard it on Not Sam Wrestling, I think, talked about it. And I was like, oh shit, I missed that. And I went and looked, and I'm like, damn, it was an awesome promo. So yeah, the banter between all of these guys is going to be on point.
Yeah, I agree. And I've got to shout this out too, because I'm a nerd this way. The way that this video was shot and the way that it looked on screen, it looked great. Like, I don't know what they did different. I don't know if it's just because they have the backlighting and, just all of that, but it looked really, really good. Like, I mean, really good. So Joe, what did you, I guess let's go ahead and get into the other promo that you mentioned, since I've got Cross up on screen. But what do you make of them finally, it seems, giving him the opportunity to kind of do his thing and kind of go forward with this character in the way that he is?
It's about time. I mean, Jodie had said for years on this show, how many, remember the times when Cross was doing those promos back in the church that time? He was doing this. I mean, he was always good at this. He should have been, he was good at this in NXT as well. And Tazzy will attest to it. I know Tazzy's a big fan of his too. He was always good with this stuff. He's great on the microphone. And the fact that they weren't allowing him to do it and, or kind of just having him do some stuff in the background is kind of silly. When you have a talent, honestly, and this is a compliment of the highest caliber for me. His promos at times remind me of Jake the Snake. And Jake's promos were one of the best. He's one of the best guys to ever do it. He knew how to just talk in that really low voice and stuff like that, yet still be intimidating. And Cross, in that promo that he did in his garage was just like he was talking like every day. He was just carrying on a conversation just like he was talking normally. He wasn't getting all hyped up or anything or yelling and screaming. He was just talking. But that works for people like him. So kudos, man. He's an intimidating dude. And intimidating guys, when whatever kind of promo they choose to do and when they're good at it, it shows. And Cross is just good at it. So I'm glad they're taking the chains off and they're finally letting him show that.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, I know you've been high on Karrion Kross, but just your thoughts on his delivery in this promo and finally being able to kind of flourish, I guess.
Yeah, he's like Joe said, he's so good. I mean, just the way that his delivery and the way he just comes across with stuff is he like Joe said, he can be quiet and still be intimidating. That's a hard thing to pull off, and it's really cool to see it done as well as he can do it. I mean, he's definitely in the right group of people. I mean, he reminds me a lot of Bray and how he hit, just the quality of his promos and how good he could convey and make you interested in what he's saying, get you to believe what he's saying. And obviously we're seeing that with Bo too. It's a perfect mix that they put these two together, because he's in the right company with this. Like he's so good at it. I'm glad to see them finally using it.
Yeah. And to the point that I was making earlier about how this looked, he looks like an absolute star.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like an absolute star. And Joe, to your point, I sometimes find myself, and I would do this often with Bray too, listening to their delivery and their cadence in their promos, and it like you both said, is very similar to Jake the Snake in terms of the cadence and how they use words and when to use certain words and when to emphasize things, when to raise your voice just a little bit, not a lot, but just a little bit. So yeah, I gotta agree with both of you. Tazzy, I gotta say this too. Shout out to Tazzy. Tazzy helped me out a lot today with setting up some stuff for the stream. So thank you, Tazzy. Tazzy says, say his name and he appears. I believe in DJ B Tazzy. That's right. I love the promo with the mix of Karrion Kross. I didn't know I needed a combo of the Miz and Cross. I do now. Side note, don't text and drive. That's right.
Yeah, don't text and drive. Yeah,
don't text and drive.
I love that part too, where he says, why do you call yourself six? There's only 5 of you. So like, I love that. Like a lot of people ask that same question. Like, who's the 6th one? Is it Bray? Like assumed to be Bray? Is it, and he mentioned that too. So he's really kind of digging in there. The only thing about this is, and I don't know what's going to happen down the road, but I would have loved to seen Cross as a member of that group. I would have loved to have seen that. And who knows what anything holds, right? People change factions all the time. People go, they're separate. Who knows? Maybe it will happen at some point down the road, but maybe they convert him over, right? And that's how they bring people into the faction. So he would have been brilliant as a 6th member of that, if that's where they wanted to go. So,
well, let me ask you both this. I'll start with Chris on this one. I know someone said this in the chat, maybe last episode or the one before that, but what if they do add him into the fold, and what if he's Uncle Harper in some way?
That would be really interesting. I mean, obviously he's got the skills. He could fit in with their vibe. It'll be interesting to see how we get there story-wise from where we're at now, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that could happen down the road. And I think that, he could be a good fit for that. He could do whatever depending on what they have story-wise for it. So that's an interesting thought for sure.
Joe, I want to get your thoughts on that too. And then I also, if you don't mind, want to ask you to kind of break down a little further what he said in his promo in his garage.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would love to see him in the faction for sure. And yeah, I mean, look, that Uncle Harper thing is still hanging out there. They kind of left it go, but it could be something they certainly could explore down the road. Look, it was just a cool thing. If for those of you that didn't see it, go on Karrion Kross or go on our Twitter and it's on there. He basically was just kind of chilling. He was working on a motorcycle in his garage, smoking a stogie, man. He had a cigar lit up in the garage, and he's just responding to to, you know, a sign that that was shared by Joe Gacy that said TikTok. And he's just coming off as just like, it wasn't even really that he was in character very much. He's just coming off as like he was himself. And he was just taking, he goes, you know, what is that? Is that supposed to be something against me? Is that, you know, and it was just really cool. It was like he was talking directly to Joe Gacy, not even necessarily talking to his character or in character. It was like he was carrying on a conversation, like, well, you know, what is that supposed to be? Is that supposed to be something against me? You know, like what, you know, and then he just goes on and on to tell that he started telling Joe Gacy things like, he's like, listen, you know, you were great when you were the whole like leader of the faction and all that. And he said, but you know, when you lost it was when, you know, you lost your way. And he said, you just turned into like a nobody in that faction. And he said, you know, and you come to this one. And he said, again, you're kind of like a nobody. He said, you're nothing special there. And he said that, you know, and then he's talking about Loomis. He said, Loomis is going to be the guy in that faction. He's like, you know, it's not going to be you. And he said, so once again, you're going to get left behind. He said, do you really think that Howdy is going to be the one to bring you up and help you? And he goes, he's not. He's going to betray you at some point then. So he was just talking very realistically to him. It wasn't, you know, anything outside the box. It wasn't any of that. And you know, it's crazy because he's a manipulator. He's a master manipulator. This is what he does. You know, this is how he manipulated Miz. I mean, how do you manipulate the Miz? That's not an easy thing to do. The Miz is usually the guy that manipulates you. So he's a master manipulator. And now what he's trying to do is he's trying to screw them over from the inside. He's trying to get Gacy to have second thoughts and to start thinking that, you know what, you know, he is kind of using me. You know, what good am I here? I'm not the leader of this group. And he's trying to tell him that he should be. So yeah, it's a really good down to earth promo. And it's the kind of stuff that Cross used to do a lot. And what he's good for. And like I said, he's the manipulator. He's the snake in the grass. He's the guy behind stuff. And if he starts to weasel his way in there and starts to get, you know, some of those Wyatt Sicks having some second thoughts, that wouldn't be a good thing for Howdy. So
yeah. George Bernard Shaw is saying if they add someone, I'd prefer it was a woman. I think the perfect one would be Sue Young.
Sue Young
never came to WWE.
No, I know. We've been clamoring for her to come back to TNA for months and months and months. Mm-hmm. But she's mostly been wrestling on the indies, and I know she's been hurt.
Injured, yeah. She got a serious injury.
Yeah.
Hanzo, what's up, Hanzo? Good to see you, man. All right, so I got to bring this up too because we did get another part of this last night, and that was the response, the rebuttal. Chris and I were talking about this before. I'm just gonna put the picture on screen and let people say whatever the heck they want to say because honestly, like I'm still baffled by the uncanny resemblance. But just look at this picture.
Oh, I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that. Oh man.
I know when it first came on, I was like, "Is that Bray? Like, yep. What is happening?"
Yeah.
Like for a moment, I thought that they pulled like an old clip.
Me too.
Kind of spliced it in, and then it finally hit me like, no, that's not at all what this is. And Chris, I want to start with you on this one because I know you said you saw something wild out there. What do you think of the job that Bo is doing with all of this and how he's done thus far?
I think it's absolute perfection. I not a thing that I would change about it. I think he's done amazing. What Jeff's referencing is I saw someone in the Bray group I'm in on Facebook say that they thought that Bo is ruining Bray's legacy, and I just can't for the life of me even think how someone could think that, because I think it's the exact opposite. Bo is adding to Bray's legacy like I never thought we would get. I mean, you know, I'm sure all of us had a big question of doubt when Bray passed. Like, what do we get from here? Is this it? Is this the end? Do we never get anything else with this story or anything? And I'm so glad to say that no, it's not the end. It's getting carried on and it's being done by the best person to do it, and his brother, and he's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better myself. Joe, what do you think of the job that Bo's been doing?
I thought the same thing you did because I kind of I rewatched it. I was watching the Cowboys get shellacked, and so I rewatched it after that. But when I had it on, I was kind of scrolling through the commercials, and I caught the start, and I'm like, whoa! And then I went right back, and I'm like, hold on, is this Bray? Like it did when I first started listening to him, it didn't even sound like Bo. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like he's looking more and more and more like Bray. And it's insane. You know, when I watched that, I thought the same thing you did. I'm like, is this like an old promo that they're showing here? And then I had to do a double take, and I'm listening after a while when he started talking more. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, it is very uncanny. How much, you know, when he grows that hair and the beard long like that, how much he looks like his brother. And it's crazy, but you know, look, the tribute thing. I mean, my gosh, if you can't see what they're doing as far as, you know, in tribute to Bray, then that's a you problem.
Yeah, definitely. Mark saying, "Hey everyone, sorry I'm late. I have a question for you in the chat, and that is this: throughout the years, I have watched, followed wrestling. One thing I've noticed about tag team wrestling and faction wrestling is that most of them break up at one point or another. There are a few teams who have stayed together throughout time. One of them is Motor City Machine Guns. My question is, do you think Bo and the others want the Wyatt Sicks as a permanent?" And apparently there's more, but do you think this, let me just ask this way, do you think this group, and we'll start with Joe on this one, do you think this group is built for the long haul? Do you think this is a group that 3, 4, 5 years from now we're still talking about the Wyatt Six?
I think in some form. I don't know if the entire faction will stay together the entire time because, you know, eventually when you have a faction, you kind of sometimes want to see what the wrestlers can do, right? So if WWE wants to see what Gacy can do, what Loomis can do, that's when I think the tag team might go and kind of do their own thing a little bit. They'll still be in the faction. The faction will still be a part of them. Howdy will probably still come out and watch the match like he has, and you know, Nikki will be there. So no, I think in you know, in some way, shape, or form, they'll still be together. They'll end up doing separate things after the faction stuff is over. But again, how many times have we said there's so much faction stuff they've got going on? They have that New Day thing brewing, looming in the background of this even. And then they got then like I said, then when you know, maybe when they change up the rosters, they got the bloodline. They have so many things that they could do with this. Yeah, I think it's going to be around for a while. I do. I think it's going to be around for a while. And then you have the return possibilities of Alexa and Braun and what that's going to mean with these guys. And are they going to go after them at some point? So there's a lot that they can do with this. And I think that's why it's cool. I think that's probably why that, you know, when Bo pitched the idea to Triple H and whoever else, I'm sure they had a lot of behind the scenes about it. And when he talked about it, he said, yeah, this is going to be a tribute to Bray. But then, you know, being the businessman Triple H is, he has to think, okay, well, how's this going to play into the show? How are we going to get this into the show every single week? And so I'm sure that's all there. And Rob Fee and whoever else is doing the behind the scenes. And I'm sure this is all thought out. And I'm sure they probably have a long-term plan. So I do in some way, shape, or form believe that they'll still be together. Now, like I said, anything can happen in wrestling. An injury can happen. Somebody might go out for a while or whatever. But you know, and like I said, maybe Nikki goes and does some women's wrestling for a while. Maybe the tag team goes and does some tag team stuff for a while. But you know, altogether, I think that as a family, I think they're going to still be together. Yes.
Chris, same question to you, man. Do you think they're built for the long haul?
I definitely think so. Like Joe said, maybe, you know, we might not see it as it is now. Maybe a member leaves, a member joins down the road. The lineup very well could change over time. But I definitely think it'll be around for a long time. I think that because this faction is built differently than most. Most factions don't necessarily need to be around for that long. There's not more of an nothing behind it. Whereas this one, this is we lost Bray too soon. This is keeping Bray active in wrestling, and people I think want that for a long time to come. And so this faction is helping do that. So there's this motivator behind it all that is different than most other scenarios about a tag team or about a faction, and their longevity. Like having them around keeps Bray involved in WWE. So I think that because of that, especially, it'll be around for a long time.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think it will be around a while. Got some chatter going back and forth. So, I mean, I guess from here, and we'll start with Chris on this one. From here, what do you think we get next? Do you think we get anything kind of leading up to Survivor Series? Do you think we get anything there? What do you think happens next?
I still think it's possible that we could get something for Survivor Series, although it's we're getting awfully close now and we haven't heard anything, so I'm guessing most likely not, and that's okay. Like we've talked about, they'll be on a pay-per-view eventually. It doesn't have to be right now or anything. I'd say the more likelihood now is probably Saturday night's main event, maybe that we get something between these two, whether it's a giant match between all of them or they split off and have a smaller match with some of the people. I definitely think that's coming. Based on something that Bo said in that promo, I have a hunch that Scarlett may be the next victim. He said something to the effect of, you're going to have blood-stained hands with red and scarlet. And then after that, he even said, you're going to lose what's most precious to you. So to me, it felt like he was talking to Cross there. Now that since they attacked them, here comes the backlash, and using the word scarlet in reference to blood and then saying you're going to lose what's most precious to you. Obviously, we know that they're husband and wife in real life. Really makes me think that he was hinting that Scarlett's going to be the next victim. He even said, like, I'm sorry, I didn't want this, but you chose this. So Bo was, I think, washing his hands of it.
Yeah, and that's interesting. So let me ask you this. Let me ask you to dive a little bit deeper into that. How do you think Nikki plays into it if they do go after Scarlett?
Obviously, I think she'll be the one to attack. I don't see them, having guys beat up a woman. But it's perfect because she automatically owes her some revenge anyway, because she tossed her in a nasty bump off the ring during that attack. So it'd be interesting to see how they do it. I hope it's in some kind of a scary way. Maybe they're backstage and Nikki comes out of the dark or something, grabs her or something like that. That would be very cool to see. I hope it's something scary like that.
Yeah. Hanzo is agreeing with you. He said he definitely needs that ASAP.
Yes.
Joe, what do you think, man?
I mean, we've had home invasions with them, right? They've done it already. That's how they got the members. So, I mean, they went into Nikki's home. So they're not above doing that. The Scarlett thing, I told you guys, I'm very excited for. I really want to see her and Nikki wrestle. And I watched a video last night on YouTube, actually, that I didn't know existed. Her and Shotzi do like haunted house visits and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know they were doing that. That was very cool. Rey Mysterio was with them for this one. But yeah, look, I want to see that because I want to see, Scarlett play the damsel in distress character. And I want to see, obviously, Karrion Kross will, that will be horrible for him if they do end up kidnapping her or something like that. So it's, I think it's going to be fun to see. And, this is how you get a guy like Kross off balance. You hit him where he's weakest, and his weakness is his wife. So that's what you do. And if they go through with something like that, then that's really going to get him off his game. Could you imagine if they went after both her and Maurice?
Oh,
If Maurice was up for it, like if they go after both of the wives, good Lord. That Maurice is usually, I mean, she comes back to WWE from time to time too. I'm sure she wouldn't be adverse to it. She'd be on TV a little bit. You know, obviously, you know, if she can get away from being with the kids and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that would be cool. You know, imagine like, because I think Ms. and Mrs. is coming back, and imagine like they're taping a show and they go and interrupt while they're taping the show and they grab her. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities with it, but yeah, I think that you know, this is what they're gonna do. You know, they're gonna when somebody stoops low, you got to stoop a little lower. And so that's about as low as you can get. But if they, you know, they take her away, this Cross is gonna go ballistic. So
yeah.
She also gotten involved on Twitter too. She responded to one of Uncle Howdy's tweets and told him to shut up.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, yeah, she did.
Well, Scarlett might be might be in a little bit of trouble too.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so we're gonna kind of land the plane here and get some final thoughts on this story and whatever else you want to share. So Joe, we'll start with you, man. Final thoughts.
Yeah, look, I mean, it keeps on chugging along. We're getting stuff consistently on Raw. I kind of, you know, when we were talking last week, I kind of thought maybe they'd make it to the Survivor Series. I'm kind of not thinking that anymore because there's just a lot going on there. You have the bloodline, you have the big women's match and stuff that they're really highlighting. So I kind of don't think that's going to happen. They're probably just going to keep this on Raw and keep it going on Raw for the time being, which is fine. You know, it's a reason to watch Raw. And so yeah, I love it. I hope Cross keeps doing the promos online. I hope they keep doing that stuff back and forth. And listen, guys, check their Twitters. Well, you know, if you're not following Cross on Twitter, do it and follow Wyatt Sicks on there as well, because there's a lot of back and forth now that's going on the social.
And even all the individual Wyatt Sicks members have been posting a lot of stuff too. So very active feud on Twitter.
Yep, follow them all on Twitter, because if you're not, you're missing a little bit of the backstories for some of this stuff. So, but yeah, I like the pacing. I think that they're you know, it's all good. Maybe it could be building to Netflix. You could be right. They might be
already advertised them for the first episode on Netflix. So I think they're going to play a big part.
It could be. It could very well be. It could also get something. I think Jeff suggested last week on Saturday night's main event as well. But yeah, it's I've said from the very start of it, whoever is writing, whoever is doing the behind the scenes stuff, you're doing a good job. Keep it up. The little, you know, I know there was some time off again in between the last feud and this one, and people got nervous and, oh my God, it's, you know, they're gone too long, but you know, good things come to those who wait. And it's been pretty good.
Absolutely agree. And I did want to ask this too. With this story, the way that it's going, and you know, you throw out Netflix and all of that stuff. And then you talk about Saturday night's main event. Do you feel, Joe, that Saturday night's main event would be a better way to kind of expose this group to a larger crowd? Because the thought is, I'm reading and kind of picking up, is that they're thinking that they're going to get a lot of folks that don't traditionally watch WWE programming. So do you think that's a good spot to put this group in?
I would try on a show like that to get a little bit of everything in there. I would have, of course, have my champions there to further their feuds. I would try to get a little bit of everything. If you're not going to have them show up live, then I would have them do a promo for sure. Yeah, because you know, I mean, they're probably right. You know, it's a different time. They're having it at night and on a Saturday, with that they don't normally have that kind of stuff. So they're gonna hype it up, And for people that are like, myself, Jeff, and others that are a little bit older, we look fondly on this as from when we were kids. So for the people that have done that, it is going to get a lot more people watching. And so listen too, maybe I remember that the reason they used to have those on sometimes so late too is because they were kind of a little bit uncensored. They didn't go crazy, but they were a little bit kind of uncut. They could unleash a little bit. So yeah, I would definitely have something on from these guys, whether it's a promo between the two or whether they have them there live. I for sure would have it.
Gotcha. Chris, I'm going to ask you the same question, and then if you want to share your final thoughts, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love what Joe said about having a little bit of everything. I think that's brilliant. If you're expecting to have an audience that has people that don't necessarily watch WWE TV every week, that's the best way to get them to watch more, is showcase a little bit of the best of everything that you have. So that way, hopefully something will spark someone's interest and they'll say, oh, I want to see more of that, and then start tuning in. And then I'm sure they're really going to be pushing heavily advertising about Netflix on there, because I mean, who doesn't hardly have Netflix nowadays? So
right.
Some people might be more interest for them that, oh, I could start watching this on Netflix, So I think it's definitely gonna be a good show for them. It's a good place to get a bit, build that bigger audience in and get people hyped up for the Netflix thing, because that's just sounds like it's going to be massive from the way they're talking about that first episode and who they're already advertising for it and everything. It's going to be a big deal. I also heard too that supposedly when they go to Netflix, it's going to be TV-14 too. So that has me really excited for the possibilities, especially with the Wyatt Sicks, of what they could be doing on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean that would be really interesting if they end up going to a different rating, and that means that gives them a little more flexibility to be a little bit darker, a little edgier in some spaces. So that would be really good.
Yeah, I can definitely see them leaning into that more.
Yeah,
especially for the horror stuff. You can go a little darker. Doesn't have to be, if you remember, the thing with Alexa when she spit out that gook from her mouth, that was rated TV-14. I remember seeing that on there, that they were having that little TV-14 symbol on there. So yeah, they can push the needle a little bit more with some stuff like that. So yeah,
and I think it fits really well with Netflix. I mean, if you look at like the top trending stuff on Netflix, there's almost always at least one, if not multiple, horror movies on the top of Netflix. That's a popular thing.
Yep.
A lot of people watch horror stuff on Netflix, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Netflix want them to lean into that. They've got a perfect group for it and a perfect story to lean into that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see more of that.
Yeah.
Wrestling's always great when it intimidates real life. That's when wrestling is good. And I've noticed there are so many horror flicks, like you said, and a lot of them are home invasion ones. There's a lot of ones that are home invasion now. So yeah, it's life, wrestling imitates what happens in real life. And that's when it gets really, really good. So, yep.
Yeah. When you're holding up a mirror to society and that's reflected on your programming, that it adds a bit of realism to it. Yeah. So no, good stuff, guys. Good stuff. All right. So we're gonna wrap it up this week then. Good, like I said, good stuff. Always enjoy the conversation, Joe and Chris. And all of you in the chat, thank you all so much for being with us this evening and bearing with our slight time change. But yeah, that's gonna do it this evening, Joe. And Chris is always welcome. So one random Thursday, you might see Chris on TNA with us. But we'll be back on this channel on Thursday for our TNA Wrestling Watch Along. TNA is heating up right now, so if you're not watching, now's the time. Go ahead and join the bandwagon. We got plenty of room. But we'll be here Thursday, 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for that. We will not have Between the Ropes this week. This is the
pay-per-view
start of pay-per-view Palooza. We're all
Yeah, it is.
because this weekend we've got AEW Full Gear. So,
Yeah.
And then the next weekend we've got TNA. What is it?
Friday. That's Joe's Black Friday marathon.
That's your Black Friday turning point.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got that, and then Saturday is War Games.
Yeah.
So yeah, busy couple weeks coming up in wrestling. So yeah, got lots of good stuff though. Lots of good stuff coming up. Again, I'm actually surprised I got this in twice today. If you don't mind, drop a like on the video, and if you're new to the channel, welcome, and hopefully you will hit that subscribe button so you can be a part of the family, and join us whenever we have live stuff going. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it for us. We, like I said, we greatly appreciate you being here this evening. Love all the ideas and thoughts, and it's good to see some folks that we haven't seen in a while. Hanzo and Nicole, always good to see you both. Please feel free to join us anytime. We greatly appreciate you. But that's it, folks. We will see you next time. Take care. Have a good week. Enjoy some NXT tonight. NXT's been really good too. So watch some NXT this evening, and hopefully we'll see you Thursday for TNA Wrestling. But if not, we'll see you next time on the next episode of Fireflies Forever. Take care, everyone.